Good morning, everyone. It is Farm Friday here at Porter Valley Ranch. I'm Josh. This is Buddy. Buddy's one of those dogs that is just always in the way. He's great. He's about 2 years old. He got him for his birthday one year, and he's a great dog. He does a good job guarding. He's just always on your feet. He is always in the way. So that's Buddy. I'm gonna come here and check the greenhouse today. If you didn't see our video, we got a free product from Quick Tent, which is a temporary structure company. They sent us a greenhouse, sent Rachel a greenhouse to try out, and it is still standing. It's a little wrinkly, but we actually survived a tornado warning and a couple of really big storms recently. So the fact that it is still standing is good. You can see she's got a bunch of stuff growing in there. It's actually starting to rain right now. You can see it's a pretty cloudy day. I'm gonna come up here and check the sheep. We actually lost a sheep this week. Don't know what happened. It was really weird. Just came out one day, was feeding them, and noticed that she was slow to come down the hill. She was kind of staggering around, and we caught her, put her up, did the normal deworming and all that regimen, gave her some antibiotics. Anyway, she didn't make it. The only thing I can figure is poison, because she was perfectly fine one day, and then the next day she went down here really quick. So usually you would check for parasites and things like that. I don't think that was it. So speaking of parasites, I'm sitting here drinking my coffee. I think it's coffee. It looks like coffee, but it doesn't taste like coffee. It doesn't smell like coffee, which means, that's right, we got the COVID. If you had not had COVID yet, it is a really strange symptom. I also don't want that grasshopper in my coffee. It's a really strange symptom, but sometimes your taste and your smell goes away. So last Friday, told you guys I didn't feel good. You can tell I'm kind of out of breath today. Turns out, shortly after we posted that Friday video, Rachel and I both tested positive for COVID, which means we had it for a day or two, and we are okay. We are recovering. My parents, some of you guys were kind enough to reach out and be praying for my parents. They both had COVID also. They are both on the road to recovery as well. What's strange, we hadn't really been around each other. They live about an hour away from us. So we both got it kind of at around the same time, but we weren't around each other, I don't think, to be exposed to each other. So it's really strange to me that a year and a half into this thing, I think, has it been a year and a half? 20, yeah, I guess so. So a year and a half into COVID, almost 2 years into COVID, because it's actually COVID-19, which means it started, they think, November of 2019, if not before. Anyway, so we're coming up on 2 years. So Rachel and I have a business where we are very social. We're around people all the time. We teach kids, and we've been careful. We've been cautious. We've had a lot of protocols in place to try and mitigate the chances of us getting it, our employees getting it, and also spreading it to our students. But it's a pandemic, which means at some point you're gonna get it. So what's really strange is finally, a year and a half later, we got it. We don't know where. We have been, all over the country doing things. We went to Disney World, which you guys saw. We posted a video yesterday. That was actually filmed in June. But we came back from that. I went to New York City and didn't get it. I got vaccinated. 2 weeks later, I got COVID. I don't know. If you're a conspiracy theorist like me, then it's kind of weird. Anyway, we got it. It wasn't that bad. Slept a lot for a couple days. Coughed. Had a little bit of a fever, but mostly just tired. Come outside to do something and only last about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then I'm just tired and need to go inside and lay down. And I'm not a napper, so like for me to go inside and take a nap is like, there's definitely something wrong. So anyway, so that's our COVID story. We are quarantined for a couple more days, but we are recovering and doing fine. So definitely wanted to get you guys a Friday video out here with the sheep. Checking the sheep because, like I said, one of them, Doodle, who was one of our very first baby dolls that we went and got last year. You can go back and watch that video, but she died. I suspect poisoning. There's different things that they can get to poison them, but I checked her temperature and she didn't have a high fever. I checked her eyelids and they were kind of gray looking, which is strange because usually with parasites, they'll turn white. But it just didn't seem like a parasite thing because it took her down way too quick. Even though parasites can take them down quickly, this was like almost instantaneous. And then I gave her a lot of medication and it just didn't seem to turn the corner. So anyway, so I'm gonna come check these guys over here. Check on the Millies. You guys, how's it going? So got these little silky roosters over here. Here's number 1, Silky number 2. Hey bud. Hey buddy. Then we got these little chicks. That's crazy. That weird afro thing still. If you haven't followed Zeke's Beaks over on Facebook, that is Zeke's chicken page, and he raises and sells silkies. Our silkies haven't been laying lately. I don't know what the deal is with them. Sometimes when the weather changes, sometimes when the temperature fluctuates a lot, they don't lay, but they have not been laying. But usually he collects his silky eggs, hatches them in his incubators, and then sells them on Facebook. So if you ever need silkies and you're in the Oklahoma area, look him up, Zeke's Beaks. He has some good ones. He actually just won the Creek County Fair, best of breed and best variety with a couple of his silkies. So they are pretty good quality. We don't really know everything there is to know about silkies, but we have leaned on some people who know a lot more than we do, and that's where he's gotten his birds from. So if you get good animals, they usually create other good animals. That's key. So you can see here, this is where it gets wet, and this is where it stays dry. So I got a bunch of square bales of hay and put them in here the other day to keep them dry, because it's starting to die out. Everything's starting to die, and we have to start feeding hay more. So I'm watching these sheep because, like I said, Doodle passed away this week unexpectedly, and that's part of farming. If you don't have a lot of animals and you don't really understand, it's weird. Animals die. Sometimes you don't know why. Sometimes you do know why. Sometimes it's preventable and sometimes it's not. The problem is they can't really tell you, they can't tell you how they feel. It's not always feasible just to go to the vet. We looked into doing some veterinarian testing last week, and we were gonna get a couple preg checked, and we were gonna get a couple tested for a few different diseases and illnesses, and it was gonna cost like $700. One of the tests was like $300 a piece. So sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Again, this has to be a business, even though, they're animals and we want to do the right thing by them. At the end of the day, it doesn't make sense to take an animal to the vet and spend $400 at the vet when the animal's only worth $350. So sometimes you have to make hard decisions. We actually had to make a hard decision back in the summer with one of the puppies. One of our livestock guardian dog puppies had like a heat stroke. So we took it to the vet. It was in distress. I actually had to resuscitate it. By the time I got to the vet, it was not doing very well. And they start rattling off all these things that they're gonna do, like plasma injections and IVs. It was gonna be like $1,500. Well, the puppy was only worth $150. So unfortunately, there's a line when humane crosses with business and there's just nothing you can do. So, you know, we just had to choose to, you know, have it put down because it just doesn't make sense. We can't spend that kind of money on something that's not going to give us a return. So that's the ugly side of farming. It's part of farming that not a lot of people talk about. But sometimes when you're sitting here and you have COVID and you just feel like you're being honest, then that's what you talk about, unfortunately. So we will keep it 100. I don't know if that's still a thing. People always said that. That means like keep it real, like 100%. You know, like the little red 100 thing. It always reminds me of the movie 300 with the Spartans. But anyways, keeping it 100. Farm life is hard. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions, and some days it's very defeating. I came out after not having felt good all week, and all of a sudden one of the sheep is sick, and I didn't feel like catching it and putting it in the pen and giving it medication and bottle feeding it electrolytes and all these things, but I did. And then within 24 hours, she had died anyways. But that's the way it goes. That's what farming is sometimes about. Unfortunately, there's joy and there is pain. So we have definitely lost our fair share of animals this year. It's just kind of a numbers game, I guess. The more you get, the more you have a chance of losing, and it's not fun. It never gets easier. Hey. Down here. Also, Rachel has been posting some things about sheep. I'm gonna try to show you guys the difference here. So you see this one's little face. She's a baby doll, and they have the wool that comes all the way down their face, where like this one right here, Lovey's easy to tell because she's spotted, so she's a Harlequin. This one right here is a Harlequin. You can tell because she's spotted, but then some of them you can't tell so much. Like this one right here is a Harlequin also. She doesn't have spots, but you can tell that her face is smooth, where the baby dolls will have wool that comes all the way down their face. So see, this one, you can tell right there, she's got the smooth face. The majority of our sheep are Harlequins. We don't have a real big baby doll herd. My dad has more baby dolls at his place. I like this one. Its wool is almost like an Angora. It's kind of long and stringy. So this is Brian. Brian's our wether. And then see, like when their wool gets wet, it kind of like looks dreadlocky or something. Where the baby dolls is like a real thick, it's a thicker mat. So Harlequins are actually better for spinning if you're a, not a spinster. What's it called? Like when you weave, like you're a weaver or something. Harlequins were bred for wool. They don't have super long wool, but it's good for spinning into yarn and making stuff out of. So you can tell the difference between the baby dolls, which is like a Brillo pad, and the Harlequins, especially when it gets wet. It kind of like striates. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway. This is Snowflake, that's Jets. So one of our big projects in the coming weeks, we're working on some some financial tools. A big passion of ours is to teach our kids about business and entrepreneurship and finances through animals. So some of you guys have heard us talk about it before, but we give all of our kids animals, and then when they have babies, they can choose what to do with them. We actually sold 2 little Ibex last week, easy, for $750 a piece, and those actually belong to Zeke and to Kai. So we will take some of that money and use it for the expenses that we put into them, and then the rest of it will go into, you know, their bank account where they can make choices. They don't really have anything they need to spend money on right now, so they can either purchase more animals or they can put it into, you know, some sort of an investment plan. But hopefully by the time they all turn 16, they can buy their own cars. They can help, you know, pay for their own college, things like that. That's what my parents did with me, and I was able to be pretty self-sufficient just because of the money that I had built up off of animals. We actually started with Texas Longhorns, and then I moved into Neapolitan Mastiffs. I raised dogs, and then kind of branched into some other things. But through the cows and through the dogs, we were able to, you know, make money and then pay for a lot of things without having to have a normal job, because I'm not a normal job kind of person. Never have been, never will be. So I think some of my kids are kind of turning into that. They've got a good entrepreneurial spirit about them. And so if that's something they want to do, then hopefully this will put them on a path where they can continue that. All right, it's enough of these sheep. We are going to go down the hill and go check on the goats. It's still raining and I gotta open a gate over there, so I'm gonna move this down and let you guys watch them for a minute. Sometimes they're kind of entertaining. Here you go. So it's still raining, but I still feel better than I did last week. Another thing we're doing here today, the boys carved pumpkins last night. And after you carve a pumpkin, you have all this, the guts left over. I don't know if they'll eat it or not, but supposedly pumpkin is like a natural wormer for goats. So last year we fed all of our pumpkin guts to Lulu, who was our pig. So we had a rescue pig that somebody, one of our friends, had gotten from a boyfriend or something like that. I don't remember what the exact story was. So we had a pig. She was really cute, and then she started getting bigger, and as she got bigger she destroyed everything. That's why you can see here I went and I put this gravel and I put these railroad ties. Couple reasons. Number one, it gives you a nice walkway when it gets muddy. But number two, Lulu had dug underneath the edge of the entire fence, and then all the goats could get out. So I had to do something. So I did that, because sometimes I do things overkill, and Rumble's not feeling it today. See if anybody eats my pumpkin. Oh yeah, Paul's in it. You like that, Paul? Huh? So this is what needs to happen. Her name is Markle. She is a new unregistered baby doll. And she needs to get bred by Paul, not by George. So Paul is interested. That is good. That's what we want. Now George is interested in Paul. That's not what we want. That's not good. Love is in the air. So I told you guys last week our plan was to take our baby dolls to Oklahoma City, bring my dad's Harlequins here, split them up so that we have the 2 rams with the different herds. That didn't happen because everybody got sick with COVID, but hopefully this week it'll happen. Today I'm going to separate them because Markle has been quarantined since we bought her, and this is the first time that she has been in with the boys, and evidently she is coming into heat because Paul is very interested. So need to separate them just to make sure she doesn't get bred by George. Even though she's a baby doll, she's unregistered, and if she breeds with George, it will just make another unregistered baby doll, which is not preferable. If she breeds with Paul, who is a Harlequin, then that produces a F1 Harlequin or F1 Harlequin babies, which is what we want. So hopefully Paul always throws spots, so hopefully even first generation Harlequin will be spotted. We can move them into the registry because she is a good looking baby doll. She just doesn't have papers. So that's the plan. We're gonna hopefully get that done today. It's fall break there. Oh man, it's like a bunch of teenagers running around. Good luck, girl. It's funny. So, breeding season is good. Sheep, that's gonna happen. There's our little breeder buck. So I need him to really start growing and showing some interest in the next couple of weeks, because shortly after Christmas, hopefully we get him involved. We're kind of at a weird timing deal. We wanted to get all of the sheep to start being bred earlier, because we are going on a big family mission trip to Puerto Rico with my dad. So my dad's was a pastor. Now he's involved in missions. He's a disaster relief director for Send Relief, which is a branch of the North American Mission Board. And he goes all over the world. He always has. I don't know how many countries he's been in, but he has been, you know, on the mission field, you know, for most of our life, going around and helping people. So we think it would be really cool for our kids and my brother's kids to be able to go on a mission trip together as a family with Papa Sam, because that's what he does. I have been on mission trips with him. My brother has been on mission trips with him, but the rest of the family has not. So we're going to take a family mission trip to Puerto Rico, which we're really excited about. But it's going to be in spring break. So 145 days from now is almost spring break. So if they get bred at the wrong time, then the babies would be born when we are out of the country. Not technically out of the country. Puerto Rico is an American territory, subsidiary, whatever. Anyways, we prefer to be here when the babies are born, just in case something happens. If you watched our videos last year, Pepper, when he was born, he was rejected by his mom. So even though he was born fine, we had to intervene in order to save him. So if something were to happen, we would want to be here. So we're trying to time our breeding around being gone, and we're kind of in a gray area now because of the whole COVID thing. So we might just have to risk it and see what happens. And obviously we'll have somebody come sit, you know, our farm whenever we're gone anyways. But preferably you want babies to not be born in the dead of winter because it's super cold. You want them to be born later in the spring, but also if you wait too far into the spring, that's when you get into barber pole season of worms here. And so we kind of liked for ours to be born a little bit earlier so that they're a little more sturdy before some of that parasite stuff starts kicking in. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting timing wise, but we're very excited about going to Puerto Rico. And then also, if you notice my shirt today, it says Place of Refuge Global. That is the organization Rachel's on the board for. Our church started an orphanage in Ivory Coast a couple years ago, and Rachel and I are both going to be going to Africa here in a couple weeks to go visit the orphanage and help the kids and build some things. I'm going to be doing some welding, and I'm not a great welder, so I need to brush up on my welding skills here in the next couple weeks. Anyways, we're going to go over there, which again makes me pretty nervous for both of us to leave at the same time. My parents are going to come stay with the kids and with the animals, so we know they're in good hands, but for both of us to go literally halfway around the world into one of the most remote areas of Africa, it makes us pretty nervous, but it's something that we really thought and prayed about. And at the time, Rachel was signed up to go, and there weren't any men that were signed up to go. And it's not necessarily a hostile country, but it's not really a place you want to be without a little bit of muscle, just kind of as an intimidation factor. It is very remote. It is very primitive. It's a very poor country, one of the most poor countries on earth. And so we love the people, and I'm going to go with Rachel and my sister-in-law and some of our friends, and we're going to go just work on some things and try to get some things solidified for that organization going forward. So hopefully it can keep taking care of not only the kids who are there now, but we've got some big plans for some ways to impact that area, that region, that country even more down the line. So hopefully we can get some of those in place. So be in prayer for that. Big things coming up, a lot of trips coming up, and it's going to leave our animals here and our kids here for a little bit of time. So we're excited but nervous. If you want to know more about Place of Refuge Global, I'm going to put the website down below. There are sponsorship opportunities. You can sponsor kids, and there's a lot of kids sponsorship opportunities in the world. There's like Compassion Child and things like that, Feed the Children, and those are great. We're never going to speak poorly of another organization. The cool thing about Place of Refuge is it is a full orphanage. We account for 100% of the children's needs. So there's only 24 kids there, but those 24 kids are there 24/7, 365 days a year sometimes. We like for them to go home on holidays, back to their village, but some of them can't. Some of them are in situations where they can't go home. It's not safe for them. So we provide, schooling, food, health. They get to see a doctor every week. They have opportunities that most kids never do, and we are committed to these kids for the duration of their lifetime until they graduate from primary school, secondary school, and then hopefully they will grow up, they will be educated, and they will be able to go back and they'll be able to impact their own villages in their area for the better, because Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, it's just one of the poorest places on earth. Very, very poor living conditions. Like, you hear third world country, and until you see it, you don't really understand what that means. But it truly is a third world country. And so to be able to help these kids is an amazing thing. So if that's something that you're interested in, you don't have to live in our area. You can do it from anywhere. You can see when people like us go on these trips. You can FaceTime and talk to the kids. They'll know your name. They know who you are. You know who they are, and they, like our kids know our families. We have a little boy named Aaron and a boy named Othniel, and then we have another one who we don't support because his mom works at the school next door, but his name is Ezekiel, and he's the same age as our Ezekiel. And so, we think of them you know, like our kids. And every time we go over there, we get to be with them. Every time somebody else goes over there, they call and talk to us. So it's a pretty cool situation. And if you've been looking for an opportunity to give back and you don't have an opportunity through a local church or something like that, then you should consider giving to Place of Refuge. It's a pretty cool situation. It's a really cool mission, and it's definitely a worthy cause because these kids don't have any other choice. I don't have anybody else helping them. So you'll see more about that in the coming weeks. Sorry I went off on a little rant there. Alright, that's enough goats for today. I'm gonna go feed the rest of this pumpkin stuff to the chickens because I think they'll eat it. Paul took like 2 bites and then he abandoned it. He didn't seem like he was too interested. Come on, eat the pumpkin. Look. The kids say it stinks. I can't smell anything, so I don't know. So you see Zeke's 4-wheeler there. Usually for fall break we would be 4-wheeling. We always go to the Ouachita Mountains and go on these epic 4-wheeling ventures where we ride. Last time we rode like over 100 miles on rocky trails across the top of the Ouachita Mountains. We didn't get to do that because of COVID, so our kids are pretty bummed out. We're just staying home, but hopefully we can have some good family time. We went fishing yesterday and the GoPro wasn't working. It was dead, so hopefully today we'll get to go fishing again. I'll take you guys with us. The boys caught some gar and some catfish. Jed actually caught a huge catfish. So even though we didn't get to do our normal thing, it was still fun. We're still able to have family time and enjoy the property that we have, which we don't always do. So kids are bummed out, but hopefully we can still make the most out of our fall break. Hey guys. Oh man. Well, that's all we got for today. I think we're going to do a family farm feed tomorrow. The boys were sleeping in today, which they deserve to sleep in. They're highly active with sports and things like that, and usually have to wake up pretty early and go to school. So we let them sleep in, and that's fine. But they're home, so we're gonna make the most of it. I appreciate you guys coming along with us. We really appreciate all of the prayers and support this week when we had COVID and my parents were sick. Again, everybody's on the mend. Everybody seems to be heading the right direction, and we're thankful for that. Thankful for you guys reaching out to us and telling us you're thinking about us, praying for us, and appreciate you coming along with us on our journeys. We got a lot of fun things coming up, so make sure that you like, subscribe, share, comment, tell somebody about Porter Valley Ranch, because we can't get our message out unless somebody hears our message, and that person is you. So we appreciate you watching and listening and sharing, and we will see you guys on the next video.